Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another Alchemy Draft of Murders at Karlov Manor. Without further ado, let's get into the Pack 1 Pick 1. Our Alchemy card here is Scour the Scene, 2 mana for a 2/2 Detective, and every time that you sacrifice an artifact, usually a clue token, you get to perpetually give a creature in your hand or a creature you control +1/+0. So pretty decent card. Not the most insane though, and it does immediately tie us into blue-white, so I think I'd rather take just an excellent cheap white removal spell with Case of the Gateway Express. Great in any deck that can have a good amount of creatures on board, clears out a smaller creature on your opponent's board, and buffs your whole team once you've solved it by sending in with 3 or more creatures, so big fan of this. The Bone Brute's also pretty good. You can play this face down, then flip it up as a 6/2 menace, but I'm really not a fan of black in this format, so I do what I can to avoid hopping in, unless there's a massive reason to go there, like a pick 5 or pick 6 Bone Brute or something, then I'll be like, okay, let's hop in. But for now, we'll start with Case of the Gateway Express. Pick number 2. Now we've got an inside source for another fantastic white common. This gives us 2 creatures off of the 1 card, which is excellent with the case. It's going to make sure that we're doing extra damage off of it and getting closer to solving it. So that sticks to 1 color as well, which is beautiful. We could also take Private Eye, a great reason to push towards blue-white detectives, but this has the risk of if white or blue is not open, then we have to cut it, whereas inside source is just if white isn't open. We can go white-black or white-red or white-green or white-blue, and we'll be happy with this card. Obviously, with Private Eye, it's only in white-blue, but it is stronger. If we had started with Bone Brute, we could have started on a double Bone Brute deck here, which would be pretty sweet, but we'll take Inside Source here. No Alchemy card left in this pack already. Pick 3, somebody's rare draft in Alchemy cards. I mean, a lot of them are really busted, like incredibly powerful cards, so a little scared of the players on our right. They've got some good Alchemy Rares, Mythics, maybe. For us, pick 3, the Seasoned Consultant and the Crovod Haunch. Neither of these are really worth taking super highly, even if we are kind of glued to white. So we move to the secondary colors, pick the best card there. There's Projector Inspector for blue-white detectives, which is great, and Person of Interest for red-white aggro, which is also great. Red-white wants to make a really wide board state, blue-white wants to play a lot of detectives, and both of these cards are perfect for those strategies. I have already passed a really good blue-white uncommon, so the players on our left could be hopping to that archetype. So I'm going to go for the Person of Interest, see if we can hop into red-white being more open. And so far so good, with a Dog Walker being one of the best commons for this archetype, as well as just any white or red aggro deck. Spits out 3 creatures off the 1 card if you can flip it up, so Dog Walker is beautiful. Case of the Burning Masks is also pretty solid removal, a little hard to cast at double red, but Dog Walker is so good for getting the wide boards that I will take it over decent removal like the case. Once again, no Alchemy cards. Pick 5, we've got a Fuss and Bother, which is fantastic for any aggressive white deck. Because of the hybrid mana, you can play it off of white mana alone. With Fuss, you can give all your attacking creatures +1/+1, which is quite similar to what On the Job does for most decks. Finding just really explosive attack that's super in your favor. But Bother, giving you that flexibility if you top deck this late game, is really awesome as well. Getting 3 1/1 flyers and surveilling 2 that late in the game being really good, because any extra lands you hit goes straight to the grave. Pick number 6, we've got a Haas the Vigilante. Pretty great, buffing up your 1/1 inside sources, your 2/2 detectives, your 1/1 dogs. Actually a pretty good top end for Boros aggro. There's also Call a Surprise Witness, which is fun. I like this a little bit better in blue-white detectives because you have a lot of ways to draw a card and discard a card, so that if you aren't trading creatures off, you can still end up with something to do with this by discarding a creature and then reanimating it. But that is an option too. It's pretty cool. It's really good when you can reanimate like an inside source with an Enter the Battlefield effect. There's also Granite Witness. The hybrid mana makes it playable even if we're not in blue. It's a pretty nice flyer, but I'll go for the Vigilante here. Pick 7, the Chase is On is a really nice combat trick. +3/+0 first strike, wins almost every fight, and you get to draw a card off the clue. So great card there. Pick number 8, just rare draft a Case of the Uneaten Feast, because I would much rather have more efficient removal spells than Suspicious Detonation. This is quite likely to get cut, so I'll just rare draft a case that doesn't really work in draft, but it's pretty nice if you're playing one of those Soul Sister style life gain decks where every time you gain life you're putting +1/+1 counters on the board and stuff. Consultant's a perfectly fine filler 2-drop. I like Gearbane Orangutan if we're in best of 3 where I can sideboard this in against good artifacts, but not really main deck. All right, pick 10, Offender at Large and Case of the Burning Masks are both cards I'm a pretty big fan of. Really love Offender at Large for giving us a finisher, like a 5-drop that can end the game, that you can also just cast on turn 3 with the Disguise ability. And the Flip Up or the Enter the Battlefield effect are really nice, but we only have one removal spell right now, so I will still take Case of the Burning Masks over it. But I do think Offender at Large is actually pretty dang good. Yeah, Case of the Burning Masks going that late. Red-white looks like a really nice color pair to be in. And yeah, we're having a great time this draft, honestly, especially when we open up an on-color mythic. Good grief. Agris Kos, Spirit of Justice, 4 mana, 2/4, double strike, vigilance. You could end the text box right there and it would be good, but also every time it attacks, you can suspect a creature or exile a suspected creature. So you suspect one of your opponent's creatures so it can't block anymore, and the next time this attacks, you get to exile that creature. It's super busted. Really powerful, as is Inside Source and Makeshift Binding, which, because these are both really powerful mono-colored cards, we are not going to get back. But even though Agris is multicolored, it's a mythic as well, so we're not going to get Agris back either. So a little unfortunate that there's a bunch of great cards for us clumping up in one pack. We're not going to get anything back here, but that's okay. We're still getting something really nice out of the pack. And the Alchemy card is super cool and super powerful as well, but we're not in blue here. 2 mana for a 1/1. Thopters you control get +2/+0. You put a 0/2 flying Thopter on the board every turn, basically. So, it's pretty busted. You get a 2/2 flyer basically every turn with it. What is this? Spotlight Falcon. 4 mana for a 4/3 flyer. As an additional cost, you may collect Evidence 5, so exile 5 mana value of cards from grave. If you do, conjure a duplicate into your hand. Oh, then you just keep it going? Alright. I mean, it's an artifact, which is actually a pretty big downside. There are plenty of main deckable artifact removal spells. But it's still probably almost definitely better than Vigilante or Dronesmith here. Because it can be really explosive in the right scenario, like you top deck it late. Or if you've got some nice cheap spells like Fussbother you can play that give you, 7 evidence in grave, or 9 actually, then that's just immediately 1 card in grave. You can already collect the evidence for it. Pick 3, I'm just going to highlight Novice Inspector here. This is the best common in the entire format. It's just really good value. But I do want to read the Alchemy rare. This pack's great for us. Inspector and Defender at Large and Push Pull has been really impressive too. What is the case, though? The Alchemy card. When it enters the battlefield, deal 1 to any target. Damage isn't removed from creatures during cleanup steps. If there are 3 or more creatures that are damaged, you solve it, and whenever you attack with one or more creatures when it is solved, you deal that much damage provided you choose among any number of targets. That's really weird. That's a little too confusing for me. I'm just going to go for the straight up, just always good Novice Inspector, though. Having to keep track of, how many creatures might I have damaged on board. Try to get your dogs to deal damage or something like that. I don't know. That's a little too much for my brain right now. Pack 2, pick 4. This is the kind of Alchemy card I like. 1 mana, 3 to a creature or planeswalker. Sometimes it's instant speed, sometimes it's sorcery speed. Either way, it's a great card. It's Strangle or it's better than Strangle. And we can maybe get an Offender at Large back out of this pack, which would be awesome. Pick 5, another Novice Inspector. Oh my. Yeah, these Alchemy Draft pods are just loaded with power because there's so many rares in Karlov Manor boosters in the first place. But now there's just an additional rare in every pack, usually. Or almost like rare quality card. The lowest rarity an Alchemy card can be is an uncommon. So these packs are so explosive, you get just premium commons so late, like Novice Inspectors and Person of Interests. Just explosive stuff out of these Alchemy drafts. Pick 6, Makeshift Binding. Don't mind if I do. Pick 7 doesn't really have much for us. We can take an on-curve 2 mana creature to up our creature count. Alchemy card here. Mapping the Maze. Choose an instant or sorcery in your hand or graveyard. Incorporate a blue, so make it cost 1 blue more. And when you cast it, draw a card. Then return a multicard instant or sorcery from your grave to hand. That's pretty cool. So make one of your instants or sorceries in grave a multicolored by giving a blue mana to it and then pick it up. And then you also draw a card when you play it. It's cool. But we're obviously not in blue. Actually, Red Herring is just better than Automaton in aggro because you can attack with it the second you play it, and when it does get blanked by a 2/3 or something, you crack it to draw the card. Pick 10, grab another Vigilante. Pick 11, Offender at Large. That's what I'm talking about. We did wheel them. We wheeled both of them. And we got to pick 13, Person of Interest. Less excited about Rebel Belt Braggart, but I guess that's something. Pack 3, pick one. Let's check the mana curve of creatures here. So Dogwalker, we prefer to flip up. Automaton's pretty bad. Consultant is pretty bad. So that leaves us with one actual 2-mana creature, which is really tempting to take Market Watch Phantom over Inside Source. Despite the fact that Inside Source is a really, really good card, Market Watch Phantom's still pretty good. It is almost always just a 2-mana 2/2 flyer as you're curving out, which is nasty. And we do really need 1 2-mana creatures to get rolling more quickly here. Honestly, we need more creatures in general. We've got plenty at 4 mana and up. Well, 3 mana and up because all of the flip cards. But yeah, we need 1 2-mana creatures all over the place here. So Market Watch Phantom over Inside Source awkwardly. Pack 3, pick 2, another red herring. Could try to splash in a Tolsimir. I don't try to splash too much in decks that are this aggressive though, but Tolsimir is so powerful it could be worth it. But I'm just going to stick to our just pure Boros here. We played Tolsimir in our first Alchemy Draft deck. Pick 3, Concert Kambumis. This thing's probably nuts because it's an alchemy card. 3 mana 4/2 trample. You can disguise it for 3 when you flip it up or when it enters the battlefield, deals X to your opponent, where X is the number of non-creature spells you've cast since the beginning of your last turn. So you have to count up how many spells you've cast the last 2 turns. But it can do a bunch of damage when it flips. It is pretty good. Person of Interest might still just be better. This card is just great. But I mean, a 3 mana 4/2 trample at worst is not bad. It does trade down into 2 mana 2/2s and stuff still. I'll still go for the wide board state. I'll take the Person of Interest. Pick 4, another Makeshift Binding versus Maskmaker. Maskmaker doesn't seem terrible in here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 disguise cards. All right, that is kind of bad. Yeah, we'll take Binding. If you have like 7 or more, then Maskmaker's actually probably pretty good. Okay, we have double Binding, we have Shove Aside, we have double Case. I don't think I need another Shove Aside, but I could run it over another Case. I think I would rather just make sure I've got more 2-drops. I'll take the Vengeful Tracker, so if our opponents are trying to do any clue stuff, we're shooting them in the face a ton. Pick 6, another Offender at Large. I don't think I'll play 3. Maybe we just rare draft Izzet Polarizer, because it's kind of cool. That is a pretty cool alchemy card. There is a chance we play 3 Offenders, though, and make sure. I think we've got the tools here. I'll take a Shock over Innocent Bystander, despite my need for 2-drop creatures. We're at 6 creatures that are 2 mana or less now, so we're fine. 1 or 2 more would still be fine, but we don't need more. We're not desperate at this point. Pick 8, Red Herring. Fine, add it to the stack. All the red herrings at 2 mana. Pick 9, now I'm just going to hold down the Alt key for the rest of the draft so I can see how many I have in my collection and just start rare drafting, because we have 36 options of what to put in here. Our deck is just, it's done. It's done, and it is fantastic. Oh, I forgot about our other... I already cut the filler 2-drops like Consultants and Automatons. They're actually really good on 2-drops. We're really not desperate at all. Actually, deck's pretty perfect at this point. This looks fantastic. We didn't get an on the job to really care about the wide board state, but Case of the Gateway Express and Fussbother are both still really good with the Person of Interest, Inside Source, Dogwalker style cards. There's still plenty of reasons. Plenty of cards that can just pop off with those. That should be really explosive. I think we cut Knife, Crowvon Hunch, Make Your Move, Case... Run the premium removal like Makeshift Binding, the Shock, and the Shove Aside. Tempted to still run the Cases and the Chases on, but we start getting to a pretty high non-creature count at that point. 15 to 17 is your general, somewhat aggressive limited deck creature size, or creature counts. We can cut a little bit lower if our non-creatures are just that much better than our creatures, but that's the really easy blueprint to go by. So that'd be, what, 15 creatures would be 8 non-creatures, and right now we're sitting at 9. Yeah, I guess we could go 14 creatures to run all these, because I think all the non-creatures we're running are really good. But we might not need the Chases on, because we've got so much removal. We can clear out the cheap creatures super easily with Shock, Shove Aside, Case, and the big creatures with double Binding. I think I'd rather have a Chases on than a second Case of the Burning Masks, though. Because just the efficiency of Shock, Shove Aside, and Case is worth not getting the 2-for-1 like you can get off of this case of the Burning Masks. And the Chases On is a great way to help clear out like a 5 toughness blocker or something that we're having a hard time dealing with our damage spells, or burn spells. So I'm going to get rid of the Case here. Case of the Burning Masks, and then we just cut our 9 weakest creatures and have a super fun time. Probably Technician, because we can only flip, so it's pretty slow. And Dogwalker, even though we usually only want to flip it, we can play it turn 2 if we don't have another 2-drop, and it's better when we flip it than the Technician is, getting 2 creatures instead of 1. We don't care too much about the flying the Technician gives us. Bystander is one of the weakest 2-drops. We've got enough creatures. Consultant, I think, is a bit better than Bystander, and Automaton, and even Tracker, honestly. So this is still 2 1-drops, 5 2-drops, which is fine. Really love the Offenders. Maybe cut a Vigilante, cut a little top end here. I really, really like that the Offender Larges are going to be 3-drops that we can flip up later to try to win the game, but they also are 5 mana value if we trade them when they're face down, so that if we go Offender at Large and a Spotlight Falcon, like we can just aggressively trade off our 2/2 disguise card so that we can play the Falcon and conjure another Falcon into our hand, which is really cool. I could see for mana curve purposes cutting maybe 1 Person of Interest, cut down on the 4 mana stuff as well as an option. So, and then I guess maybe we could cut both cases and still run like 16 creatures here. That'd be fine. So cut 9 cards out of this pile. Let's go Braggart Vigilante. I do still kind of want 1. I think that'd be pretty cool. Automaton to surveil something in the grave with the Falcon is also kind of cute. It is generally so filler, though. Like, the 1 toughness on a 2 mana card is pretty bad when your opponent flips a Dogwalker or something, or they just play a Novice Inspector, and you're blanked. That sucks, too. Yeah, I really don't like the 1 toughness on that, or Bystander. So I'll just cut those 2 right now. So I'll keep Tracker in so we can have 6 2-drops. Nice and aggressive. 5 more cuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess that'd be cutting all of these. I really don't want to cut more than like 1 Person of Interest, though. So I'll cut Technician and the Case and 1 person. Then we could cut a land, but I have 4 ways to use 5 mana. I have 3 Offenders to flip, a Vigilante to cast at a 6 mana Bother to play. I also have 1, 2, 3 Clue tokens to use with my extra mana, as well as Red Herrings to crack. I really don't think cutting a land is necessary here. Maybe I do still cut the Vengeful Tracker then, to get down to the 17. Sure. And I'm just going to play a 41 card special because I feel like it today. We'll call it a deck here. Alright, here's like the final deck list for today. We're on a nice little Boros aggro deck with all the premium commons and uncommons. These Alchemy drafts are pretty wild. There's so many powerful cards running around the draft pods that you can get some of the really good commons and uncommons super late because there's just so many rares and mythics and busted alchemy stuff going on. So we've got double Novice Inspector, we've got the Dogwalker, the Inside Source, and double Person of Interest to get a wide board. We've got the ways to buff our board with Case of the Gateway Express or Fuss on Fuss Bother. No on the job here, but still great ways to get an aggressive board really quickly and buff it up. And of course, as we are in an alchemy draft, we've also got some bomb rares. We've got an Agroscos Spirit of Justice from the main set, 4 mana 2/4 double strike Vigilance that also suspects something every time it attacks to shut off its ability to block or to give it menace. And if we target a suspected creature with it, after we've already suspected it, then we can fully exile that creature on a future swing, which is super, super sweet. There's also a Spotlight Falcon here for our Alchemy Bomb. This is a 4 mana 4/3 flyer, but we can collect Evidence 5 when we cast it, so exile 5 mana value from our graveyard, and if we do, we get to conjure a duplicate into our hand. So as long as we have Evidence in our graveyard, we can just cast a never-ending stream of these Spotlight Falcons. So really nice looking deck here. It's got all the great creatures on curve. It's got some good ways to buff them up, and it's got great cheap removal with double binding, Case of the Gateway Express, Shock, Shove Aside, all that kind of stuff. Pretty much everything you want, so we'll see how well it plays out as we head into the gameplay. Here we are for game 1, kind of a forced mull mana-wise. It's 4 red cards and 3 planes. The Dog Walker can be flipped off just the white, but I think it's too risky here, even on the draw. We do have more white sources than red sources, but it's a 9-8 split, which is real close, so 8 mountains left. No, I think we need to be pretty aggressive here. And this works. Go Dogwalker into Inside Source into Agris. Good gravy. Just get rid of the removal here. I guess I get rid of the Fuss, weirdly. Because the case can be removal, it also buffs the whole board. Oh my god. We're gonna go 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop on them. It's a way to win a game of Magic in pretty much any format. It is the Boros Mirror, and they're not doing anything turn 2, so that's a great start. Seems like removal from our opponents, so we'll get them to just kill a Dogwalker here. Nope. Some other instant. Or full control mode, you never know. Case of the Market Melee. Well, that's really good against 1 toughness creatures, specifically. Like Dogwalker. So damage isn't removed from any creatures during any end steps. Okay. It is two-sided. I specifically didn't take this card because it was just too confusing, and now I'm going to have to deal with it. Now we're going to have to think about the math of combat. I mean, I guess not, because I just suspect they're 1/4, and it doesn't matter that it has Menace. Because it can't block. And I'll just take 1 damage every turn, and that's fine. Well, we did the thing. 1 mana creature, 2 mana creature, 3 mana creature, 4. The count would be proud. If we hit a land and we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just absurd. Could even just play the case and a face down offender using all my mana. Case away our 2/2, sure. Hit us for 1 because it can't block anyway. Oh my. Yeah, we have no reason to case here because the Auditor's just going to get exiled anyway. Oh, I should have buffed. I should have buffed the Double Striker. That was so silly. Doesn't matter. They're so astronomically dead. They do just concede on the spot. But that's really nice to note for the future. Should hit the Double Striker. I was kind of just instinctually buffing my weakest creature in case they had instant speed removal. But for a single white mana, they shouldn't have instant speed removal. So we should get 4 extra damage instead of 2. It's generally a good shortcut when your opponent has the open mana to, yeah, just buff the weakest creature. But when you have a Double Striker specifically, then yeah, you should buff the strongest creature in that position. And then they might have been, what, they take 4, 5, 6 this turn? Okay, they were not dead. But they take a lot. Take 10 damage. Yeah, 6 in regular and then another 4 in the Double Strike step. 4 first strike, then 6 regular. I got there eventually. Yeah, was that game 1? That was game 1, right? We start things off 1-0, heading into game 2. Here we are on the play for game 2. Got a turn 2 red herring to start things off, and we've got the Vigilante to wrap things up. But we do need to draw some non-lands here. Our first draw is just another land. Second draw is a Shock, which isn't terrible against a red deck, but it doesn't do anything right now. Alright, Boros. Shock should be pretty good here. The face down? Perfect. Now I have something to do with all 3 of my mana, and Shock looks like an excellent draw. Forum Familiar was the face down, so kind of a inconsequential one, but still decent to get it out of the way and keep beating down here. We did draw into an Offender at Large, which gives us a creature to play face down this turn, which is awesome. There's their own red herring. They get to attack in, definitely not blocking. We are very favored to keep our creatures on board here rather than trade off, because we will be outracing them in terms of damage output. It's the Codebreaker. Could case it or shove it aside, but I think I'd rather just Vigilante. Slam on in. Don't really want to trade the face down or the red herring, because I want to have 3 creatures on board when I play the Case of the Gateway Express, so that's why I didn't buff the face down attack both. Looks like it's not going to go well, because they do have the removal for the 4/4, but if they didn't have removal this turn and they just played another blocker or something, Case next turn would have been completely explosive. Case does still look pretty good, so I will play that here. If they didn't block at all, I think I could lethal them. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'd be 1 damage off from lethal, but not quite, so I'm not going to go for that. Just get the dog walker down. Makeshift binding, that's huge. Clearing out a creature and gaining life, always a massive deal. But 8 life is dead to the flipped Thingy Madooter, Defender at large. Even without the +2/+0, so that is now 2-0 heading into game 3. Alright, here we are for game 3 on the draw. Pretty in love with this hand, and our opponent's beautiful full art full art dual land, actually. The red herrings could become a liability very quickly if our opponent plays a 2/3 or something. Okay, a 1/3, that doesn't matter too much. Ooh, and if I hit Fuss Bother, that can get around it a little bit. I do need to get the mana to hit that, though. We need to draw 1 more land. But if we draw 1 more land, the Fuss is going to be awesome. Like, I guess we can use it so that the red herrings can definitely keep jamming, but we have Dog Walker and double Person of Interest in hand, so if we get to keep this for later, it's going to be incredible. Okay, I think I have to crack a clue now. I really need to not miss land drops. Why double block? Okay. I guess play around a +1 toughness combat trick. Ooh, red herring trades up for a Granite Witness? Let's go. Alright, we did hit a land. So we do get 3rd land on turn 3, but we didn't get to play a creature this turn, which is still very bad. There we go. That did get us to land 4 to start jamming down Person of Interests, and then just get the huge blowout with the Fuss when we cast that later. Case of the Gateway Express, there goes the Menace, that's fine. It's A-okay. Shove aside. I really don't care enough about killing any of this to not just play another person. This probably just bounces off Consultant, but if they want to trade a 2/2 off again, they can. Nope. Strider. Evidence Examiner. That's something worth shoving aside. And I don't have a 4-drop this turn, so now I can play a face down 2/2 and shove that aside. And that'd be pretty sweet. My apologies if you can hear the Tornado Siren in the background a little bit. They're doing a Tornado Siren test. There is no tornado, I'm fine. And honestly, when you live in Kansas your whole life, even if there is one, I'm still just going to be playing Magic. Let's... Hitting the 5th mana is a little weird here, because now I could, like, Dog Walker and just hold up the 2 to flip it. Who was the starting player? They were the starting players. So this is instant speed, so I guess what I can do here is I can play the face down Dog Walker, and If they're going to end up with enough evidence to investigate again, then I can kill Evidence Examiner. But if they're not going to get the evidence anyway, then I might as well just flip the Dog Walker and get the dogs at the ready for an attack next turn for a massive fuss. Okay, Inspector with no evidence. Yeah, we're not going to shove aside then. We're going to flip the Dog Walker. Market Watch Phantom is the draw. Can play Market Watch Phantom and Red Herring, still holding up Shove Aside. And then the board's about as explosive as can possibly be before we cast Fuss. Let's go for it. Man, imagine if we had the full-on actual on the job here. The +2/+1. Get a clue. Fuss is already going to be completely backbreaking, so we're fine. That's 3 evidence. It's not 4 evidence yet, so we don't need to kill Evidence Examiner. I still probably will during their end step, if nothing else. Reduce a blocker. Although, no, Shove Aside is a combat trick kind of thing too. Could be big here. Yeah, so Shove Aside Fuss is going to be the play. Boom. Just in case they try to go for like a double block. Maybe it'll be pretty good here. I guess they're pretty unlikely to double block anywhere, so there's a pretty decent argument for still using it in the end step just to crack in for a few more points of damage. Oof. They're at 7 with basically nothing left. I mean, they've got 1/3s, but they're 1/3s against 2/2s being my smallest creatures. Yep, Fuss was about as insane as I thought it was going to be. There's a face-up Dog Walker. Since the dogs would hit the play tapped anyway, let's clear that out. I've got 4 mana up to kill one of my creatures here. Ooh, kill multiple. That's pretty sweet. The Urgent Necropsy. They're still dead on board. Yep, they're exactly dead on board. It's still 7 damage there. All right, that is 3-0 now, heading into game number 4. Well, this is a mono red hand, but every single card is red. So having only mountains isn't that much of a liability till we start drawing white spells. And we hit a plains immediately. Alright, nice slow deck from our opponents. Some blue deck with Public Thoroughfare for fixing. So nothing turn 1 or turn 2 here. We just keep beating them in the face with a fish. It's the Uncharted fish market scene again. Sample Collector. That's pretty annoying for our red herring. So I have to crack it to draw the card here. I did miss a land drop, so it's not the end of the world. Since I do want to hit land 4 pretty badly anyway. So we'll take the time trying to get land 4. Not going down a card. Ooh, the case, dang. I mean, it's great at clearing out that 2/3 later. But we're looking for the lands right now, and now we're falling behind. We did keep a 2-lander for sure. But the sample collector made things a big problem. Because we had plenty to keep committing to the board here, but it would involve just chump attacking with the herring. Let's get combat tricked, I guess. Nope. Straight a 2/2 for a 3/2. I guess that gives them the evidence for the sample collector. And they've got another technician. Oh boy. Oh boy. Land here was excellent. Now we get a fantastic turn. We get to kill the collector before it gets any evidence. Could chump attack with Inside Source to solve the case as well. But I do enjoy just sending in 2/2s already. Yeah, 2 person of interest coming up. Actually, just solving this case immediately feels pretty dang nice. And this means they also don't get to just trade Technician into my Dogwalker before I flip it. They could lose all their Thopters into the Dogwalker if they want. It's probably still a perfectly fine trade. Yeah, I'd rather kill 2 Thopters than 1 Technician with my face down. Alright, we've got the mana to just start jamming out EOIs. So face down. Removal for Herring? Yeah. +2/+0 removal. Collect a bunch of evidence to use it. Not bad at all. Get them to spend some big removal on our 2-drop. Okay, that is my 5th mana, so I could play a face-up Offender at large, but I think the wider board state is genuinely better. If I had 6 mana, I'd just play 2 face-down Offenders. But at 5, 1 person feels better than 1 Offender. Hotshot Investigator is really good against creature tokens. Pretty nasty card, and we are dying pretty quick now. Big deal. Okay, well they can't block this, and it can't block anyway, so send it in. And here's the blocks to not die. We die to like any combat trick if I don't double block here. They're at 9 life. I definitely don't kill them on the crackback either, though. If they don't have combat tricks, I could kill them on the crackback. But that'd be if they don't have combat tricks or creatures, if they're just full flooded here. My alternative here is to, like, they flip this into something big, eat this Offender, this one trades there, then they still have lethal on board, and I'm going to have a single blocker off this person of interest. I don't really think I win unless I just cheese it out with an Offender flip next turn, so I'll go for the cheese it out. If they have the trick, they have the trick. I'm kind of dead either way. Oh, exactly 1 power. 2. Alright. See what the face down was at least. It was a 5/5, so we made the right block against what they had on board. Yeah, I just don't think we could win that game then. Because if we did go for the double trump to not die to that combat trick, then they still hit us for 5 with investigators. They could Fae Flight the investigators if they wanted to put me to, what, 3 life? And then I would only have a person of interest that can't block, and they'd have a 5/4 flyer on board to kill me with next turn, so I'd hit them for 3, and then play a single 3/2 that can block and a 3/2 that can't. I'd have to top deck perfectly. I think our best bet was that they were just bluffing, didn't have anything there. I mean, even if they didn't have anything, I think that's their best attack with that board. You send in with everybody, and then I can't kill you on the crackback because I have to trump to not die, so yeah. I think we did what we could, but it was not quite enough. Just stumbled slightly too far in the early game to lose the race a little bit, and we are 3-1 heading into game 5. Here we are for game number 5. On the play with turn 1 Novice Inspector. The second one is kind of unnecessary, but turn 1 Inspector to turn 2 Herring's pretty sweet. Then we just start cracking a bunch of clues if we don't find the mana to get towards our 5-drop. I guess the second one's a pretty great turn 3 play. Just Play 1 and crack a clue. Perfect use of 3 mana if we don't need to makeshift binding. Yeah, I know the second is still really good here. Another Boros deck. They're red, green, and white, though. It's an automaton. I am fine with all the trades in the world here. So send in the team, play another Inspector, crack a clue. And pass from there with that F6 value. Sure, they know we don't have a shock or anything, but I get to be lazy this way, and Arena's not going to ask me to click the OK button during their turn. Face down 2/2. Well, that gives me the perfect play this turn. Since I hit the 5th land, I don't need to crack any more clues. We know what we're doing next turn. Ooh, and it was a nice little 4/4 at worst. Gets bigger for the number of creatures they have. Alright, Helix and Inspector? That's gotta be a bad feeling. I hate when I have to spend removal on a Novice Inspector of all things. I'm like, I'm just so far behind in this interaction if I'm spending 2 mana removal on a 1-drop Inspector that drew them a card with the Investigate. So I'm pretty happy to be on this side of the table. Although we are falling a little behind in card advantage at this point. Yeah, with just removal against nothing on board, we don't have a lot of action left. Really hoping they play a blocker that we can just combat trick, because if we combat trick instead of removal spell, we get to draw another card. We get to investigate again. Alright, Case of the Market's melee. So if they deal 3 damage to Inspector, it will be dead. That damage will stay there. Spotlight Falcon without the evidence yet. If I chases on, I'll have the evidence. Oh, and I don't have double white either. Oh, shoot. Yeah, Falcon with the 5 mountain, 1 plains opener. Okay, that's kind of rough. What are we on again? We're on 9 plains, 8 mountains. Yeah, it's just variance. Crowd Control Warden. So there's the chases on targets. Again, chases on before we makeshift binding so I can crack a clue. Also, honestly, we could just shock into that thing since they have their case on board, which does make them just kind of not want to block. Alright, fair enough. They're down to 9, then I will makeshift binding if you're not going to let me chases on. But yeah, their case was going to make it, so it would be 2 toughness for the rest of the game, basically. It would be a 4 toughness card with 2 damage on it. Nice. Galvanize the red herring since I tapped out of the mana to sack it. Fuss Bother with still no second white source, so Fuss is what I've drawn. 6, 7, 8, 9. This is not a good idea. But here I am. Now they're dead to shock. Never mind, I'm bad at math. It's become an even worse idea. It does make my Falcon really good now, though. My god, does it make the Falcon good. 3, 4 plus 2, so it was 6, not 7. Yeah. Well, here we go. We collect evidence 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh. There's a Falcon, and I've got a backup in my hand. They're already just dead to the first one. But if they find removal for that, then I'll play a second one and put a third one in my hand. Yep, there they go. They got lands in their grave for that? No. Just play their land from hand for fun, fair enough. Well, Spotlight Falcon is definitely doing its thing this game. The fact that it did give me an extra is actually going to be pivotal in our victory. Ooh. Shove Aside is really nasty here too. Oh my god, the first one is in the grave to pay for the second? Oh my god. Actually didn't even realize how sick that was gonna be. So nasty. I guess it doesn't quite kill this detective. I'd have to Shove Aside and shock. It's still good though. And they have to chump. Chumps are slightly better than usual when they have that case on the board though, since damage is sticking around. Inside Source, 2 blockers on the ground, but Spotlight Falcon is gonna get there. Huge MVP that game. Had to be a resilient threat like that because they did find the removal with the World Soul's Rage, but not going to be enough when I can just keep playing another Falcon every single turn, and we are now 4-1, guaranteed to be at least breaking even out of this draft, but if we can take it any farther, then we can turn this into another draft where we are in the money. Here we are on the play for Game 6. Start off with a turn 2 Market Watch Phantom. Looking for any 3-drop, but we've got a lot of random disguise stuff. And 1 and 2 mana cards. There's plenty of things we could draw to play on turn 3. If nothing else, we can shove this little Gorehound aside. Should get out of the way. Alright. 2 mana removal for our 2 mana creature is perfectly balanced. Yeah, we'll do the same. 1 mana removal for your 1 mana creature. Stop them from surveilling and setting up their draws. I don't love it, but I think it's better than doing absolutely nothing this turn. There's a Projector Inspector. Draw and discard. Black has a ton of removal in this format, so our hand is not very good against removal. Usually, Boros is really gross against removal because you have so many cards like Novice Inspector that hit the board and make a token of some kind. So Novice Inspector that makes a clue token, Inside Source that makes a 2/2 token, Dog Walkers that make 1/1 tokens. Those can crush the removal spell decks. But removal heavy decks can crush just like standalone bombs like Agris. So just a hand with 2 creatures total, one of which is Agris, is pretty weak to a very removal heavy deck. Kind of want to clear this out before they draw any cards off of it, which means not playing Agris this turn. But I think that's fine. Actually, oh my god. If it's suspected, exile it? Oh, that's... okay, never mind. That's not fair. That's not fair. That's actually perfect. Oh my god, I almost missed that. I almost missed that Agris just doesn't care about how they're suspected. Just if they are suspected, period, just exile that, get it out of here. Ooh, do they not have the removal for Agris in the black deck here? Be surprising. 1 removal hand. Or it's not even like a 1 removal spell in hand opener, like 1 removal spell in the top, what, like 15 now? After using 2 Projector Inspector triggers? I would be surprised if I can get a swing out of Agris, but I'd also be very happy, so... nope, that looks like the... yeah, extract. Never mind. There it is. Alright. They're down to 1 card in hand. We can still definitely win this game off of clue token nonsense, or just bother, honestly. Looks really good here. Yeah, setting up the draws, getting to double block both inspectors. Yeah, this should be very helpful. Yeah, Inspector and a 1/1 on one of them, and then two 1/1s on the other one. They're blue-black, so we really should not expect combat tricks. They might have like a removal spell or a bounce spell to play at instant speed, so that we no longer have enough creatures blocking the Inspector to kill it. Oh, and Scrupulous Agent is pretty annoying at this point. That's a detective, too. I really like the chases on here, but in an alchemy draft, I think it's really important to save some kind of hard removal like Makeshift Binding, because there are some really explosive cards in any color pair. There's like the big flyer that gives you a clue when anything hits your opponent, and then you crack the clues and get extra cards off of it. I don't even remember exactly what it did, because, I mean, I died before they ever hit me with it, but there's some really scary cards. But I do think the combat trick... Oh, man. I was going to say, I do think the combat trick that also draws me a card off of the clue would be huge here. In a top deck board kind of position, being able to get a 2-for-1 would be massive. I mean, we're still winning, actually. At this point. It's two 1/1s versus a 5/4 if they trade both the Inspectors off. And if they just trade one off, then it is two 1/1 flyers and a 5/4 versus a two 1/1s on the ground and a 3/2. Either way, those stats are in our favor. So it's a top deck war. They do get the first draw, but we're favored on board. So they do need to win the top deck war. They do need to get more lucky than us. That's not a good start. That can't possibly be a good start. Is this like the -X? No, if it was the -X, they could kill this even without getting the attacks in, so... Is this to put a stab wound on everybody mythic again? That's a 6-mana card, though, I think. I don't know what this is. Just gonna kill a 1/1. Okay. Trying to outrace us here. Nine life. Blue-black. What kind of, like, life loss does blue-black have? Let's see. I'm drawing a blank on what this could be from the main set. This might be some weird alchemy stuff here. Oh, it's just the board wipe. Okay, fair enough. Well, I think that was as best as I could have played against a board wipe. Got the damage I could. Oh, we're losing this top deck war. 3 lands in a row now. They're hitting a clump too. God, I am at 3 life now. I have to trade with the automaton. Kind of think I do. Another spell. Well, that's it. Really lost this top deck war. Board wipe into 1 spell, 3 lands. Will be the end here. I mean, probably. We do have one more draw. Well, I can afford to pay for the reasonable doubt counter here. We do die to 1 removal spell. That's bad, but we're not dead immediately. We get a draw step. Hello. Hello. Hold up. Hold up. Wait a minute. Wait. 5, 10 mana? That's still only enough mana to do it twice anyway. Okay, I was going to try to make sure the auto tapper did just this. But I guess it wouldn't matter. I could play this land. Okay. We've got no graveyard recursion, so 4, 5 exactly. And then do 5 exactly again. And I don't want to die to removal against black deck, so I'm going to hold 3 blockers up. But then I play 2 more next turn, and I actually get to attack with 2, force a chump. And not die to removal. Okay, now I'm only attacking with 1 and not dying to removal. One, two, three, four, 5. Oops. I didn't mean to emote there. This face down is bigger than a 2/2. They got me. But they only have 4 mana up, so everything in the main set cannot flip up to win a fight against a 2/2 for less than 5 mana. Alchemy threw that rule straight in the garbage. Now there's like a 2 mana flip up as a 4/5 flyer or something, and a 4 mana flip up as a 4/4 or a 6/6, depending on how many times it's attacked. So you do actually have to be pretty cautious about some of the face downs when you're in the alchemy drafts. Some of them are massive, massive blowout cards. All right, yeah, the desperation swing. The send a message swing. It's blue-black. This should not be something that trample kills me. Maybe it's somewhere whenever a creature they control dies, I lose a life or something. And then there was no way to survive here. Basilica Stalker, oh, when it damages me. When it damages me, I lose a life. Okay. I was gonna say, doesn't that make me lose a life when it flips? Oh, technically it doesn't. They gain a life and surveil 1. Okay, I always thought this was drain me for a life and they surveil, like most vampires. All right, well, pretty clear MVP. Spotlight Falcon. I didn't think there was any possible way we could win that top deck war after the board wipe into a land clump there. Turns out Spotlight Falcon is just like drawing an infinite supply of 4 mana 4/3 flyers. You could miss 4 turns in a row, just hit land, and then you hit 1 Spotlight Falcon and it just completely makes up for it. It's like, okay, I'll cast 2 Falcons this turn and 2 Falcons next turn, and then another Falcon the turn after that, at least 1 more. Since this Falcon ended up in our grave, we could have shocked their face, then played another Falcon, exiling that Falcon to put another in hand. Busted card, as you expect out of these alchemy drafts. A lot of these alchemy cards are complete insanity. And yeah, we almost got bombed out, but alchemy bombs are just built differently. We are 5-1 now, in the money, heading into round number 7. Here we are for game 7. We got the Novice Inspector get things rolling. We are on the draw, which helps us find the mana we need to get to the Spotlight Falcon. Although it's not really the kind of card we want to play turn 4. We want to have the evidence engraved before we use it, which is why the Offender at Large in hand looks really, really good. I do really need to hit lands on curve quite badly, so I'm going to skip the Shock on the Phantom here to really make sure we keep hitting lands, and I'm going to crack the clue here. Now, I haven't played land for turn this turn, or I have already played land for turn this turn, so I can wait and see if they try to put an aura on this Phantom or something, but that's the only thing that would get me to just shock it there instead of cracking the clue. Okay, there we go, land 3, perfect. Perfect, there's land 4, so now I can play the Offender face down, try to trade this with their face down to have the evidence for the Falcon at the ready. The one issue is we do need another white source specifically. We have drawn triple red and 1 white. Alright, more face downs. Sure, we'll trade face downs. Nope, they are not even offering the trade. No, 4 red sources before the second white. I'm sorry, Falcon, I tried. Well, then I get to shock and the chase is on. Are we just doing it all in the defensive at this point? They are on the play and they are definitely curving out on us. So shock here and block plus chase is on if they do something weird. They flip up their own Offender at Large, or if they make something a 3/3, then I'll just trade a chases on into it. Although, yeah, I was going to say, I can still just threaten to double blocks. They still might not attack. Okay, 5th mana, we can play our own Vigilante now. That's just the 5th mountain before the second plains. Oof. Big oof. Trade Vigilante for Vigilante. But I'm going to be tapped out against all that open mana, so they play their own chases on and we're just dead. Kind of just the perks of being on the draw, really. Don't have much say in being the person that's tapped out. Yep. Alright. GG. Oh my god, yeah. Still no white source. Second on the drop kill me. And what can you do? We are far from a position where we can afford to play around them having just more action. 6 life. Suspect anything with this? I'm just more dead, really? I have to trump there, throw this there, take 2. I guess I can suspect the dog. It does have vigilance, so if they have absolutely nothing, then I get to attack with Agris next turn and kill the dog, but if they have removal for Agris, then I just made the dog better. Oh my god, the Karlov Watchdog and Shock? Still? You got me. That's dead. Alright. Let's be on the play next time in that kind of matchup, I guess. And we are not having fun. We are 5-2 heading into round number 8. Here we are on the play for round 8. Playing against a green deck. Turn 1 Woodland Investigation. Get a basic, it's now a Clue Forest. So they've got a double green card in hand. Uh-oh. Started with a 2-lander. Our first draw is another 4-drop. And it's the one we keep being unable to cast despite having 9 plains and 8 mountains. No! Alright, well, we missed the land drop. So I crack the herring, which is such a loss in tempo here. You know what? No, I'm just gonna keep the tempo going. I'm gonna just slam in with 2 herrings and hit them with one of them. We got 15 lands left in our basically 30 cards, 32. We on them coin flips. Let's win some coin flips, come on. We're losing. Losing coin flips. I'm gonna attack in, holding up all the mana to sacrifice whatever red herring they try to kill, if they try to kill one. Honestly, if they don't try to kill one, I have to sack one at this point for lands anyway. There is my first land draw. Three Death Touch to ruin my red herring. Come on, land. Let's go. Now... I was gonna say now I can crack the red herring and still play a dog walker, but I think we're gonna need to play this dog walker face down. So do I just makeshift binding a 3/3? I guess not. Like, face-up dog walker's still good enough to trade into either of these, which is fine. And then makeshift binding seems really important against a green deck, especially in the alchemy format. They just gave green decks even more random, gigantic creatures. So let's actually do play the face-up dog walker. That's fine. It's gonna get more creatures in our grave quicker for the Spotlight Falcon to try to pop off. Ooh, Offender at Large? I don't think Dog Walker for Inspector is particularly good, so we're just hanging out still, right? Drop a Person of Interest, I guess. Then we can use the Offender on a menacing Person of Interest. They have to double block, which means I get to choose what I want to kill, and I can kill the Rakish Scoundrel. Or, obviously, just deal 4 to them is fine, too. I could actually also just do the +2/+0 to the non-menacing one on the current board. Okay, not against the 6/5. Now I have to Binding, which means no Offender this turn. Okay, good draw. Now we've got a 2-mana thing to do, alongside Makeshift Binding. I should probably have just been trading this Dog Walker more aggressively. Just getting a 1/3 out of the way for my 2/2s is still reasonable. Even if it's not nearly as good as trading into the Death Toucher. Still probably worth it. Ooh, that Spinecrawler is pretty nasty. Our deck's decent against it. We can just sack a token. But it's a 4-mana 5/4, and their next creature makes me sack a creature now. Ooh, the main deck pick your poison against the Makeshift Binding. You got there. That is disgusting. 14 life with no flyers or reach creatures on their board. Their board is starting to get threatening on counterattacks, but I have a second Binding to play in the future. I kind of think I should just get some flying damage down. Oh, they do have 1 reach blocker, but it's not. It's just a chump. I'm gonna start the Falcon Chain. Like, they've got so much stuff here that even if I Makeshift Binding, I feel that our best way to get damage in is going to be in the sky. We've got double Offenders to stack some extra flying points in. Just +2/+0 to the flyer. Send in the Panther. Yeah, I mean, they're not really in a great spot to attack in with both Panther and Spinecrawler unless they have more creatures to play. Because I get to crack in with a 3/1 and a 3/3 on the ground. I'm gonna take it all. Got a binding for some life gain here. This still puts me at above 10. I'm at 11 here. This makes better counterattacks. Aww. Except Killer Among Us gives him so many blockers. And now Dog Walker is horrific. Dog Walker actually horrendous here. I'll still clear out a chunk of the board, I think. I should have played the fish, probably. Yeah, definitely. I was thinking that when I went to the turn, and then I just blanked on it once I got too excited about the big shiny OK button. Yeah, because we kind of have to makeshift binding here, which means it was fish makeshift binding is a good play. I mean, I guess because they have a 3/3, I could do this, and then they can't kill any of my creatures for free. I guess they could do both these on Person of Interest, but it can't block anyway, so I'll send it in with everybody. Yeah, I mean, I guess post-combat Red Herring's actually reasonable here as well. So it doesn't just die to a Rakish Scoundrel. Alright, the Goblin is the killer. That's a terrible order. We need the human up front. Okay, their reach creature's gone. They're dead in 2 more flying swings, thanks to double offender, even if I don't play another Falcon. If I do play another Falcon, they're potentially dead next turn. If they don't interact with any of the first 2. It is so much safer to get this Trampler out of here, though, so I'm going to do that. Oh, man. The giant 5/5 reach creature. Stop the Falcon. Gain a bunch of life to win the race. Yeah, that is potentially game ending here. Probably gets us. Well, they didn't make it a 5/5, so I do trade Falcon into it. But their attackers are horrific now. Yeah, this is still just dead, basically. Oh, yeah. Guess I can't trade in anything on blocks here. I think a chump with Red Herring was the most reasonable block out of anything there, but like the potential shot of like Fuss or something to go explosive here. No, it was probably just better to chump with Red Herring because now it's just forced into a terrible attack anyway. I got nothing else to do with my 2 mana, so at least I draw a card off of it this way. But it was probably better to just stop 6 damage than draw 1 card. Still gonna attack with it in case they want to play around a combat trick. They don't, which is fair. Because if I had a combat trick, we probably would have attacked or blocked differently. I have to overpay. I have to do 6 either way I do this. Alright, we should be at like 8 life right now. That was really loose. Not blocking with the Red Herring. Oh my god. It really doesn't matter. They have double Glint Weaver? Ooh. I mean, we can go for the Falcon chain on blocks. Just keep playing more, but I don't have the mana to play 2 Falcons next turn, which is very bad for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can only afford to double block kill one of these, and then I have to chump the other two. Oh my god, yeah, this is bad. I mean, I can kill the... Whatever I kill, I lose 2 creatures, I guess. Yeah, never mind. God, I lose the whole board and kill 1 creature. We would just be dead if they sent in the goblin. Not literally, but I wouldn't be able to kill anything on these blocks. I would have to just quad chump. Well, no, we trade into the goblin. Never mind. Alright, well... We're super dead. Double Glint Weaver is just kind of perfect here. A lot of misplays this game, but I really don't think it mattered with how much they just piled on in the end. Just really good endgame cards. So, 5 and 3 it will be. Still a very positive record and pretty far in the money. So, we'll take it. But after the first few games, I was feeling like a potential 7 winner here, and really did not stack that way in the end. So, still a slight bummer. But that is still 1,600 gems and 4 packs of Murders at Karlov Manor. More than enough to play some more of the format. So we will be doing some more Alchemy Murders at Karlov Manor very soon. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video and are interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.